competitor or the rest of the industry that went that way.
So I guess you're working like a big digital team that any of the major airlines would have, and just delivering that kind of technology, keep innovating on that, the usability and everything that has to come with that to the airlines, which couldn't possibly have all of that, all of those resources themselves in-house.
Exactly, and not only that, basically, obviously there are solutions in the market. There are the key players, you know, of Amadeus, Sabre, and some others. But having a very big system with very high cost is not something airline with a payment very simple, very fast.
Private operations and actually commercial airlines schedule to bring them in of things.
I would say most by aerospace stations, you know, because even if they decided to run charters on scheduled basis, they still can do it. From our side, we provide them the technology and the system, the abilities to do so, for us to schedule or to determine. We are here to provide to do.
Yes.
So
that's different airlines using that. That's your is sort of marketing and
step ahead. Some of
the plug and play, is it? The plug and play.
It's almost a plug and play model. You know, we need to set it up, choose the functionality we want. We even with the possibility their needs in terms of.
So you can even bring in a lot
of display. Then tablets responsive to mobile, and most important for them is the API that we have, so they can that is want to work with in their region that will connect to our API, and we are also doing it on our own, connecting to the big players in the industry, Skyscanner, Momundo,
so global distribution.
Kayak. Yeah, etc.
Wow.
Even the global distribution system, the GDSs with Amadeus, via Hanair, with Sabre, and all them. We're doing whatever we can to help the airline to be
That's pretty impressive. That's where, I mean, yeah, pretty impressive. So, I mean, this is really a great example of SaaS, software as a service.
Exactly.
And, you know, I think we've seen a growing trend away from owning technology to licensing technology. Ultimately, you guys are kind of at the forefront of that, and I guess enabling SMEs to actually enter that same space. To enter the same space that was currently owned by just the big players.
Yes, I think that, there is a big market which is not the legacy carrier that needs this type of solution.
Do you think with your clients and maybe with future clients that we're going to see the smaller players in the aviation sector really disrupting what we currently accept today as the norm?
I think that slowly but safely, yes. You know, it allows them to get a big airline abilities, call it, with a small airlines model pricing, etc.
And they can really play and innovate and work with new business models and see what kind of concepts they can launch, I guess, without having to put that focus on building the back-end systems.
I think that they will not want to build their own systems because eventually, I think today most airlines will go for, call it, a shelf product and will go to the cloud, which, by the way, one of the advantages of the cloud, you know, when you're updating a version, when you're adding a feature, they will simply automatically get it without the need of going to implement it on their server or anything else. The support, the maintenance, which is 24/7 and is not on their office.
Yeah, great. Oren, you've shown something that I think, you know, a lot of people just didn't imagine was possible. So if anyone has a few $1 million lying around and fancies starting up an aircraft operation, you're the guy to speak to.
Yes,
to
eventually
distribute that.
the part from our side will not be millions of dollars, much less than that.
Do you want to give us some ballpark figures?
When there's an airline, feel free to contact us.
So we're talking the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands?
Tens and less.
Tens and less. So,
yes,
yeah. So that's, I think, reassuring and really gets me excited about what we might see.
Exactly.
So Oren, thanks very much for sharing that with us.
No problem.
We're going to
Thank
be
you.
back in just a minute with a great.
If that's okay, I'll just say if anybody is interested from the airlines, www.aerocrs.com.
There you go. You got your plug. But we will post that anyway. So yes, come back in just a minute, and we will be sitting with Henry Shi, who is the co-founder of Snap Travel, and he's going to be talking about how they've built a chatbot-based business model and really sharing some great insights on it. Thank you very much again, Oren.
Thank you.
Great having you here, and good luck with everything.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so that was Oren earlier talking about how you can launch an airline in just a few days. So that's pretty cool. You're doing something that's much smaller scale, much more pocket-sized, but just as cool. So I'm really pleased to be joined with Henry Shi. He's the co-founder of Snap Travel, and you are right on the edge of the trend that everybody's talking about, which is how do we develop a chatbot? Well, you've actually built a chatbot-based business model. Tell me a bit about the business that you've developed.
Sure, so Snap Travel is a chatbot that helps customers get the best hotel recommendations over chat. So we're a native chat first company. So what that means that there's no website, there's no app, everything is done through messaging. So SMS, Messenger, Slack, Viber, etc. Customers talk to our bot, tell it where you want to go, how much you want to pay, your preferences. The bot then does a search across all sites and our own deals to give customers the best recommendation, all within chat. The transaction happens over chat, and any customer service is done through chat. So there's no phone, you don't have to hold online. We have 24/7 agents, and it's all done through chat, and that's sort of what we mean by a chat-first, chat-native company.
Great, well, you've definitely done a great job there. Do you have a website?
Yeah, okay, we have a landing page.
The website is just to drive people to the...
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, great. So you know, I think you've come in at an interesting point. How are you building, how are you scaling this? How are you distributing this? And how are you getting the trust from customers to make a transaction with a technology that's kind of new and not familiar?
Yeah, so I think One thing is delighting the customer. So when customers come in, at any point in time they can chat with an agent, so that they're never stuck talking to a bot. And what I think you find is a lot of bots out there right now are very simple. They're gift bots or meme bots or joke bots, and there's other travel bots. So you can try Kayak's bot or Expedia's bot, but you see that they're 100% automated. And what we find is that people sometimes get very frustrated about these automated experiences because when they want to ask a question like, hey, does this hotel have free Wi-Fi or breakfast, and the bot says, sorry, I didn't understand that, people get really angry and upset and they say this bot's really dumb, and then we're going to try it again. So for us, it's about delighting the customer and creating the right experience. If they want to use a bot to automate the experience, they can. If they want to use web views within chat, to see a map of the hotel, to see room images, we give them the option to do that. Or if they want to talk with a human to have support or whatever, we give them the option too. So it's all about empowering the customer to use what they want and in the medium they want. And the chat is nice because they don't have to download an app, they don't have to remember to go to the website, they don't have to open 8 different tabs. Everything is done inline. And building that trust is again about creating that experience where people like.
Great, so the humans still exist in your model.
Yes.
And the do you see chat being the main way in which we're going to engage and convert and sell in the future, or do you think this is just one channel of others?
Well, I think if you look at the way travel is done right now for average consumer traveler is, they open 8 different tabs on the desktop, looking at reviews. If something does go wrong, you have as seamlessly as possible. I think chat is a great platform to do that.
What's your
Thank you.
planet is, and
Yeah, well, look, I mean, I 15 months or so myself in planning, and
that
so we're using, effectively what we've built is an intelligent open source technology platform that does basically a couple of things. So on the one hand, we can integrate with almost any source of inventory, data, content, even services, and effectively bring that into our platform, analyze and manage that data, and then deliver it to a user's preferred channel. So we ourselves have an API that can be connected to. So whether that's through our own beautiful mobile app, or a consumer's preferred social media service, or even a voice recognition service, they can connect to us via a RESTful API, and basically we can provide the information about people's trips, ideas, content.
And have you seen partners using the API and doing interesting things with it? Is it still early days?
Yeah, so I mean, our focus has been more on our integration with other partners and focusing on our own B2C consumer app.
But leveraging the opportunity of turning that around is, I guess, where your future growth
No, that's
looks.
it, exactly. And so, you know, as more and more of the big players effectively open themselves up to integrate with APIs, we're starting to build our technology to integrate with Facebook Messenger or a WhatsApp, and so that you've seen recently with the new iPhone, the new iOS releases, you can integrate a lot more into those chat feeds, and so we want to be very much at the front and centre. So I think there's more of a push probably than a pull, but because it's typically fairly open, that gives us a great opportunity to kind of provide our service there.
Great. So do you see, in the future, that actually what you've built is something you also distribute on a large scale in different ways, in some ways to provide the content, and in other ways to provide the sort of booking and the fulfillment, and having more of a two-way relationship with all the different channels, apps, solutions that consumers are using and booking and exploring ideas through?
Yeah,
so
look,
for example, I guess maybe looking at a destination with a website, I put together a trip plan, and then I can actually take it out of that and finalize that booking through Planet. It's just an idea. It's just an idea.
No, I mean, it's a good idea. Take a note. So, no, but exactly that. So, one of the things as an early stage business, you've got to be really consumer focused. And actually, the very first thing we did was interview 100 people, just to understand how they plan travel, where they went to. And it's quite clear that actually people do have preferred channels that they plan on, but they're just not serving them in the way that they want. So we'd be delighted that people use our own app because we can control that experience and the brands, but equally, the core technology we're building is actually, that's our USP. And so if we can distribute that via social media networks, or exactly as you say, it becomes, on any website, it's just a nice tool to be able to actually, hey, that's really interesting, add to a trip. And the technology we're developing actually will hopefully enable that to effectively update prices, even lead to bookability.
So user experience is obviously really key to to what's behind a successful app. I know from our previous conversations that you're putting the user experience right at the forefront.
Yeah.
But using an API as a way of distributing and being present on the wider web is also about sometimes letting go of the brand.
That's
and
right.
that actually letting go of that user experience and trusting others to build it as part of their experience.
Yeah.
So they almost seem two parallels that are sort of juxtaposed against each other, but perhaps not a bad thing.
Well, look, I mean, I've worked in previous startups actually where we've done similar things, and I think the knack it, as I say, what you really like is people to come to your brand because, as you say, you can control the experience, and the user experience has to be great. But you can't always have it. But actually, if you can do it in a way that your user experience is really value add, then people will come, they will use that. And in some ways, yes, letting go is a factor, although you can control some of that even through the information you pass on in an API. But if people are aware that it's being powered by a certain business and they like the concept, it can also help drive traffic to your own controlled user experience.
Now, contextual relevance is something you spoke earlier about. Tell me about how you see context. Context is, when I talk about context, I'm always thinking now mobile, where people are, what's around them, what they're thinking, how they're behaving, how we can read everything from them. How do you guys think and approach context?
Yeah, I mean, something I've thought about a lot over the years, and it's kind of a natural evolution of personalization, which is, was kind of the big buzzword a few years ago. But I think it moves on really because, on the one hand, if you think about what you personally like or your group likes, that's kind of one area of relevance. So you may be someone that typically likes a boutique accommodation or a more unusual destination. But then actually your context changes depending on who you're going with and the trip you're doing. So I know for myself, we've got a couple of young kids. We're delighted to take them to a single destination, one hotel, and crash on the beach. So for us, I want to know, the context would be the best family type resorts for our kids that suit our needs. But equally, my wife and I like to do trips ourselves, long weekends that are a lot more unusual. We want to go to Iceland, for example. So there, I want boutique hotels, but I want all the kind of context to be around that type of trip. So it's trying to marry the two of both the person and their tastes and the context of what they're doing, which can vary a lot, as I say.
Great, excellent. And finally, speech recognition. It's a big, a big thing that everyone's talking about. Natural language, Siri, Google Home, all of that. I use Siri a lot and a lot more, but it still has a lot of flaws, and we seem very far from really getting speech to the point where it's really used beyond open an address book or give me directions to something that you've saved properly and labeled properly. Can you see a time coming, and how soon, where speech and voice will actually become a very major part of how we search and book for things? And what needs to happen in order for that to come together? Yeah,
I mean, I think, actually I don't have the stats to hand, but I can imagine the sales of, if you look at the kind of combined sales of Alexa, Google Home, and Nest, for example, just the big players, you'll see that there has been an exponential increase in these products sitting in people's homes. And I think that could well be the tipping point to speech recognition becoming one of the big drivers of planning and managing travel, as well as a lot of other things. And then really it's a bit like social media. It's about following the consumer in their time. So the classic stat that on average people are spending 4 hours a day or something on social media, the percentage of time people will be engaging with these voice recognition services is going to go from a few minutes of, exactly as you say, open calendar, to longer conversations. And I do think actually with that mass market adoption, it's going to be the next 2 or 3 years.
So it just needs to keep moving. And do you think we're at still the very early stage, or do you think we're starting to get further?
Adoption is still early stage, right, in terms of a percentage.
I don't think we haven't, and at the moment people say 25% of travel is booked on mobile. I haven't had any percentage booked on voice yet, but maybe next year we'll be talking about 5% is booked with voice, and maybe 25% in 5 years.
Yeah, you heard it here first. I think
there we go.
Right.
Where are the statistics on voice bookings? Maybe you guys can be the first, to champion that.
We'll start.
Maybe you can do collaborative voice booking, where you say, hey David, book me that trip that I discussed with Henry and
Well, funny you say,
Rob.
the drop-in feature now on Alexa. It is, that's again not so far around the corner. So but I like the statistic.
There we go.
We'll our core KPIs.
Exactly. KPI should be voice bookings. Thanks so much, David. Great to hear all your insights, and look forward to seeing how it develops.
Appreciate the opportunity. Thanks.
Cheers. So we're back, and yet again we have another great guest joining us. Chris, you're from Diverse Interactive. Maybe let's get started with talking about VR, AR, everything in that whole space, XR, you name it, MR.
Everything to do with creative technology.
Exactly. Tell me in a nutshell what it is that you do.
Myself, as a creative technologist within Diverse Interactive, basically work with clients to provide guidance and counsel on how creative technologies such as virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality, 3D simulations and that sort of thing can actually work with their businesses, their products, their services to evolve their content strategies, increase their engagement levels with their audience, and really just kind of keep this digital evolution going.
Excellent. And tell me, what's your background? How did you get into this? Because it's all relatively new. And we're seeing that some really big agencies are entering into the space.
Yeah.
But are you guys a large outfit, or how do you?
Getting that way. So Diverse Interactive is coming up to 4 years old. As a production studio, we've really positioned ourselves as a lead creative technology company, more so than a digital agency that's kind of dabbling in creative technology, because we find that presenting this specialist service offering means that we're able to really get some very genuine and good interest from the clients that we work with. Myself, I've made a career out of positioning myself in industry sectors just on the cusp of greatness. I got into digital in 2005.
Oh, so very late to the game.
Very late in the game, but still at a time when the digital strategy was being explored, and at a time that the industry was still full of skeptics, believing that print was still the dominant force of how to engage with an audience. I moved into mobile in 2008, and then subsequently joined the business with Diverse at the beginning of this year, really because I enjoy the challenges, but I really enjoy the opportunities of this.
So what's happening in the XR space? When we talk about destinations,
Yes.
What's the opportunity that you see for destinations in an increasingly mixed reality world?
The opportunities for destinations are really just to create even more personalised content experiences for people when they are wherever they want to be. By mixing computer-generated content, digital content with real-world environments, what we've got the opportunity to do is provide rich content and rich experiences for people that are just wanting to find out more information or engage with the environments that they're in and generally have a good time.
And do you think we're going to see experiences such as going into a forest, something very natural, and where
Yes.
technology is currently not allowed,
Yeah.
or is sort of a not spot, if you like? Do you think we're going to start to see things changing? Have you got some examples that you?
And where we have been for such a long time, we're overlooking positions where a luxury dream holiday physically may not be possible.
So Chris, that is great. I truly believe that is something that's very powerful. And I've seen some amazing examples where people have been able to try virtual reality, and when it's produced and a production behind it is a story, and it's an evocative story, and there's a lot going on, and it's almost designed like a film, those things can be really amazing, and they can bring people to tears. But for the tourism industry, that's not what they want to hear. I think what the tourism industry wants is to see people making bookings, getting on planes, trains, whatever it is, and going to the destination and experiencing it for real. So maybe first question would be VR. Is VR able to actually drive people to make a decision to travel? And are we able to do that on a scale that we would consider impactful? Is it already happening?
It is happening. I still believe we've got some way to go with regards to the content that's being created, because people are still exploring with the types of content that they're creating. You can have user-generated content, 360-degree experiences. I mean, there are millions of them out there already, and they're doing a very, very good job. But in much the same way as digital content, and particularly video, has started to become commonplace to promote destinations, I believe we need to see that kind of adoption before we really start to see a huge uptake of VR as being able to significantly influence on its own people booking holidays.
So how can you maybe assure me that VR is not a trend which is now passing a shit? You know,
It's been around for a while.
I mean, it's been around for a while,
Yeah.
and some people say, well, there's a lot less VR around this year, especially when they walk around shows like WTM. The reason for that is are we
ask that of someone that is the next one or two
is really
VR in a destination.
VR roller
To give you an experience.
would be terrifying. Very much integrated in it more in the
The likes of Apple and the heavy lifting with regards to the technology. I mean, these guys are making the platforms available for content, the immersive, personalized experience.
Well, thanks a lot so much for sharing those insights. It's been really great talking to you. I think people should check out Diverse Interactive, see a bit more about what you do.
Yeah,
but for now, thanks a lot for joining us.
Thank you, Nick.
Cheers.
Thanks.
And we'll be back with our next guest, who is, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's Alex Bainbridge. It's not Alex Bainbridge. So we'll be back with more exciting guests. We've got a lot, we're cramming. So you're back on our technology hour here at WTM London. If you've just joined us, I'm Nick Hall. I'm the founder of the think tank of great guests. I've from
one of those things. It's a smart app. Understanding you will have a live professional Mandarin.
Right. So this is not Google trying to.
This is where AI systems.
You're actually resisting providing. The only way I can situation is speak English and they connect me with a translator. Is that? So I've been arrested.
What he's doing is absolutely properly interpreting between the police and you, so that both sides understand each other. But it can go beyond that.
But I can interpret that. And it's been great
for travel.
There you go. I'm going to check it out myself. We are back at World Travel Market London. I am here with Alex Bainbridge. Alex Bainbridge.
Always the founder forever. Founder
Exactly.
forever.
There is a euphoria about immediate desktop uncomfortable.
So you put a few irons because that gives you an opportunity to say, well, this is too early time. No. So I looked at it. So anyone who is
I'm not sure.
Anyone who's under 30 and working in the travel industry won't have worked through a seismic shift yet. Anyone who's over 30 will have seen them, but they will have at least seen a seismic shift to the sector.
And do you see things connected, you know, physical, web, whatever you want to call it, the fact that everything has now a connection and can add intelligence which can optimize we have with anything. Do you see that as the
fact that you and it to going to the hotel experience for direct. So although you're
talking about permission to use your data.
So for example, the minibar might be stocked with your favorite beer.
Yeah, and I guess this is where there's so many
which is a really actually
and we provide
the consumer wanting to make their profile shareable. It's going to take advantage of this. That's actually quite hard work.
And as an industry, this is where we need to get really, really serious.
As an industry, it's terrible because 50% of the industry is no longer going to exist. So as an industry, it's terrible. But as a laser focused on consumer experience, this would be brilliant. It'd be a new industry. It won't be this industry.
Excellent. Well, excellent. I don't know, but if you are someone who can adapt to change, cool, exciting.
Scary. We're not talking. It's scary.
Yeah. Okay. Scary. But keep an eye on the space. Then is what you're saying.
Yeah.
And keep working. Well, Alex, thanks very much. It's been a pleasure having you. Next up, we're going to be talking about. Space is going. Quick reaction to VR. What do you think is happening there?
Looks good, but I want to hear more about sounds and smells.
Spatial audio.
Sounds and smells.
Great.
Because you can replace sight. But when you go traveling, it's about the noises and the smells of the food market that you've been to. And you can't just do that in VR.
Yeah, very good point. Thanks very much.